everybody. Welcome back to Quizzy Monday. What a fantastic Monday it was. We saw 3 brilliant shows, and of course, the focus of it all was on Only Connect, the grand final, brilliant final between two great teams. We'll be speaking to those shortly. But before we get into that, we have an aperitif, an amuse-bouche, however you may consider him. We have the winner of Mastermind, Steve Dodding. He's going to be chatting to us right now. And then after him, we'll be speaking to the folk from Only Connect. So let me bring on Steve onto the chat. Evening, Steve.
Hi, Gareth. Hi, Gareth.
Congratulations.
Hey, nice work with aperitif there, by the way.
I know. It's almost like we were kind of dancing around the subject earlier. Yeah, so we've got people in the chat. Catherine is saying evening.
Evening, Catherine.
Gerard is in there. I think he's talking about Only Connect. I got a few on tonight, so I was pretty sure of more. So yeah, he's not interested in your show. And Benjamin Benoit, greetings and thanks for all these after shows. So yes, Steve. Today's Mastermind was an absolute cracker in terms of the quality of the show. Watching it back, and presumably you've been watching the series as it's gone on up to this point. Watching it back,
I'm not really interested in it, actually, Gareth. Just my episode.
Well, I mean, I do want to quote, I've dreamt of this all my life, quote Steve Dodding.
I thought that came over very sincerely, didn't you?
Indeed, you faked it very well. But it was such an incredibly high caliber, and you watch an episode of this, and then I'm not denigrating something else, but when you've got like losing scores of 26 and 23, you've got a feel for the other players.
No, absolutely. And I remember saying to Dan afterwards, actually, that, I mean, normally that would be a winning score, wouldn't it? He would have gone through on that. And obviously, I think he felt that as well. So it's just bad luck. I just felt my questions fell just nicely for me, So there you go. What can you do?
Yeah. I mean, when you say they feel nice for you, your specialist subject, medieval cathedrals of England.
With an emphasis on Peterborough Cathedral, I think.
With an emphasis on Peterborough Cathedral, because you're a tour guide there. You didn't do it in fancy dress, which I was a little bit disappointed by.
Well, I was a bit disappointed at the end. They said, they got me to say, I'm a tour guide at Peterborough Cathedral. Well, it wasn't my fault they asked me about Peterborough Cathedral, was it really, But there you go. So it makes me sound like a pro, but I'm not, I'm just a volunteer down there. I just go down there and blather on a bit, and show people Catherine of Aragon and what have you.
And where Mary Queen of Scots used to be.
And where Mary Queen of Scots used to be before she got fed up and went to Westminster Abbey. Yeah.
Right. I mean, presumably the writers thought that Peterborough Cathedral was quite an obscure subject, so that's probably
what happened, actually. I mean, they don't know they're writing the questions for or anything like that. So
no.
It was, and I did find it quite amusing when the first blatantly Peterborough Cathedral question came up. So there you go. But this is on the back of me. I mean, I was saying to you earlier, that I'd be much happier if they could have asked me a couple of questions on another place, which I'd spent years reading about, and visiting and all that sort of business as well. But I have to say, a great part of the whole experience was actually doing the research into the cathedrals, because although I've been to quite a few in the past, I've not been to them all. And because you've got like 2.5 months to prep it, I decided this time I'd get my old person's rail card out and I'd go and visit all the cathedrals that I was being asked questions about. So, well, nearly all of them. I was asked to do 22 of them, and I ended up doing visits to 19 and some guided tours around nearly all of them as well. So it was just great fun, because it was the spring and the summer and the weather was good. I was forever leaping on trains and going and doing something I actually quite enjoyed,
Sounds idyllic. When I did Pugin, the architect, I did a lot of the same thing. I went around the country looking at his churches, obviously reading stuff. But I found that for me, the visual connection was really useful. That if something was described, having seen it, be useful. Was that the same for you?
But it was. Funnily enough, we were talking earlier about the Calixtus answer, about sort of the a small side chapel in Wells Cathedral, where the great uncle of Anne Boleyn is buried. It's hardly a major thing, but because actually Wells Cathedral was one I'd been to about 3 years ago, so I didn't go to this time. But they have a fantastic 3D tour online. So I'd been on this 3D tour numerous times, going around all the chapels, and I've been in the Calixtus Chapel, and I remembered it, So yeah, you're quite right in saying that it's that sort of spatial 3D awareness of the building. You can remember where things are, and it's a very easy way of, a very good way of remembering facts. So I think actually going round made a heck of a lot of difference. But I knew what the score was. I knew that basically I was traveling thousands of miles with probably about 4 answers, and you do all the work as well for about 4 or 5 answers, because I probably would have got 7 or 8 of those if I just sat on my backside and done nothing, so so I wouldn't have got the Calixtus one and what have you. Perhaps the hilarious, the third one about the Pope who sort of okayed Salisbury Cathedral. So there's that, but I wouldn't regret it, because it's a great way of learning stuff on a subject I enjoy anyway. So there you go.
Yeah, and the subject was quite broad, because it wasn't just like the physical features of cathedrals,
absolutely everything.
Exactly. The history of them, who did the rebuilding, the design, etc.
Yeah.
So when you're pulling all of that together, presumably you're looking at everything from sort of history books to guidebooks to whatever. Did you?
I've got all the guidebooks. I had every guidebook. So every guidebook I bought at the place in the shop, or I bought online. I got sort of like the last edition off sort of eBay or something like that. So I've got a little shelf over here actually with all the guidebooks of the nation on there for cathedrals. So I mean, they are very good. They distill the information pretty well. But I was using everything, YouTube videos, people going around, but mainly obviously going around the place myself and having a chat with the guide. And that was a great thing as well, because I've got all these photos of me with my arm around little old lady, sort of who've been showing me. You can't touch it for it, Gareth. But it's been showing me around the cathedral and what have you, and I'd tell them why I was doing it, and that was always a good sort of entry in, so they sort of took it seriously, and most people really liked the idea.
Yeah, they did when I did St Paul's Cathedral. The tour guides loved the fact that they might be able to chip in an answer.
Absolutely, yeah. I hope some people were watching actually. Some of the people I shared around.
Yeah.
So,
now you're famously a gentleman quizzer, a Corinthian when it comes to such things.
Well, thank you. Thank you for saying so, Gareth.
Yeah.
Does that sort of mean never finishing near the top? Is that what you mean?
Well, I guess it's bringing me to the question about you've got all these guidebooks, etc. Did you go down the route of putting them into a flashcard app, or were you old school with handwritten notes?
Oh God, no, none of that nonsense. No. Well, I tell you what, I did do. I recorded one of the books. It's a sort of massive tome, and I've got this sort of like little recording studio upstairs. Well, you'll be familiar with my work, Gareth.
We all are, yes.
Absolutely. So I've got that. So I use that. So I use my sort of ProLogic software to actually, to be honest, you can just use a tape recorder. Anyway, I used ProLogic software. And recorded. I actually sat down and read the whole sections on each cathedral. So that took me about, I don't know, God knows, probably about 2 days. So I sat down and did my own audio book. So I read all the sections, and then when I was walking the dog, I used to listen to, ad nauseum, Canterbury Cathedral.
The Bell-Harry Tower.
Yeah, Bell-Harry Tower, John Wastell. And because I've got a great speaking voice, Gareth. So I did that. So I did that with like the 22 cathedrals. So I had that constantly playing, night and day. And and in the end, it stuck in. So there we go.
It did work because you were very quick in answering. You were very calm and measured, actually, in all your answers, not just your specialist subject, but general knowledge as well. You were very sort of calm. You had the answer ready to come, no panic, just really solid.
That really, I mean, that was terror, really. I think much as anything. I mean, God, I mean, you've done it, haven't you, Gareth? It's so nerve-wracking. I mean, it's just, I mean, I was quite pleased when I watched it tonight that I didn't feel as I staggered to the chair as much as I thought I did. Because when he says, when the first contestant take the chair, my legs just weren't working, you know, and I was just shuffling across the floor.
It's odd, isn't it? If you're conscious that people are watching you walk, something you do all the time, but actually you're being filmed, and suddenly walking becomes quite difficult.
I tend to drive most places, to be honest. So.
But
yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. You become extremely self-conscious, you know, about everything. So yeah.
Before we move on a little bit, we saw a big smile when you were being asked about Mary Queen of Scots in Peterborough Cathedral. There was another Peterborough Cathedral reference. There was William Huskisson as well, who died in your part of the world, or your original part of the world, didn't he, up near Liverpool?
Yes, Rainhill Trials, Hill Trials. I mean, that was something I didn't know about until I actually went down to Chichester, and they've got a big statue of him there because he was the MP for Chichester.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would never have associated him with Chichester Cathedral. I always associated him with being the guy who got run over by the rocket. But you're quite right in saying that's a general knowledge question, isn't it? I think most of decent standard quizzes probably get that anyway, you know.
But you know, you have to put them away. You got
Stop
12
me if I'm doing myself down too much.
No, well, no, we're not knocking it, because actually, in all sets, you could probably get a little bit like that as well. Laura did brilliantly in Dolly Parton. She got 12.
She was great, wasn't she?
She was superb. And Dan with his 10 on Wainwright.
Nice lady.
Yeah, Omar struggled a little bit on his subject.
Sorry for him.
Yeah, it's tricky. But yeah, you did fantastically well. 12 out of 12. Got to be pleased with that, Steve.
Well, you have got to be pleased with that, haven't you, Gareth? Yeah.
So well done. Catherine Burkett says, my dad was very, very impressed by your knowledge on the special subject round, also by your ability to remember all the facts. He reached new levels of awe. So there you go. You've got fan. And Chris says,
Catherine's dad.
Steve's dog is now one of the nation's foremost authorities on cathedrals. So well done to your
Shout
dog.
Out to Floss.
Indeed. You've got to give credit to Floss there for the contribution. So at halftime, you're leading. You know, it's been your dream to go on Mastermind. You're equal first. Then, I mean, Uma has a bit of a struggle, but Dan posts a monster score, 16 to bring it up to 26. What are you feeling when you're in the chair seeing something like that, and you think, this is not a routine score now I've got to be getting?
Frankly, I'm sitting there hoping he gets some wrong, you know, and doing a little fist pump. Doesn't get caught on the TV, thankfully. No, I mean, I was in awe of him. I thought it was superb, absolutely superb. You know, it's just a long string of answers, you know, and you're always impressed, aren't you, when he's getting ones. I wouldn't have got Steve Rotherham, for example.
That was a really good answer. Yeah, that
was a really good answer, I thought. You know, it's one of those ones, I suppose, if you're sitting in the GP and you're sitting there looking at the ceiling for 10 minutes, you might get it and you're rereading the question, but he was straight out with it, so I was very impressed. But if I'm perfectly honest, I just went out there and played my own game, actually. But it was a bit like that. I thought, well, all I could do is go out there and sit and listen to the questions if I know them, say the right answer, you know. So I didn't pay that much attention. I realised he'd posted a good score, a very good score, but you know, just had to get on with it and see what happened, really. And it must have been very painful for him, I suppose, to sit there. And I mean, he said to me afterwards, you know, he's sitting there counting the answers, you know, as you would be, and then you know, it just suddenly sort of slips away from you at the end. But yeah, I thought he's outstanding, really. Yeah. And again, he said to me, you know, about his specialist round, you know, he knew the ones he didn't get. And that's very, very often the case, isn't it? You know, you're under a huge amount of pressure. Sometimes it'll come into your head. Sometimes it just won't. And you've got to pass, or you've got to say something to move on. So, you know, he could very easily have been on 12 or what have you. Yeah. I don't think it's possible to get more than 13, is it, really? I think you've got to really thunder along to get 13.
certainly not on the questions and the way they were balanced, I guess, tonight. That wasn't going to happen. At least the sets were internally balanced. You're 29 though. I mean, you zigged and zagged on discus and shot put, so it was kind of you could go either way on that. And Frankie Boyle was the only other one you didn't get. I mean, it was just an immense round, 17. In your interview afterwards, you cited all people. You can't wait to speak to the people in Quiz League of London. Well, that's tomorrow night.
Well,
but
do you know what? I've already had an email of Mark Ray to say that they've had a new inquiry on the back of the shout out for the Quiz League of London. So
there you go. You get a discount next year.
What can you say?
But how much do you put down to playing Quiz League regularly, playing Grand Prix and that sort of stuff? When you're in that chair, does it make quite a bit of difference, having answered loads of questions previously?
I think it, I think, like yourself, I've been on quite a lot of these sort of TV shows over the years. And so I think you realise that you can perform on the telly, and I think that's the thing. You're not absolutely terrified you're going to fall apart. Although, if I'm perfectly fair, I think this is the nearest I came to that, because it's such an iconic show, and you are very much by yourself there. Your focus is very much on you, and you don't want to make a fool of yourself and what have you. But generally speaking, I mean, we're all kind of used to that sort of situation, aren't we? But I just think I was just lucky. I just think had a string of questions I knew the answers to, and it can very easily put them away, though. It very easily not be like that, Yeah. And the other thing is, when you get momentum going, that's so important. Unbelievably important, Yeah. So suddenly a question you might be struggling to answer suddenly pops into your head because you're just on a roll, So I think that's what happened to me today, and I think I was, just very, very fortunate in that respect, really. So
yeah, brilliant. Well, I mean, congratulations! It was a fantastic performance. 29 points. Probably the highest we've seen this series, but certainly
they came down to the producer came down afterwards. Was quite pleased because the show had been quite interesting because it'd been high scoring and what have you. And she said it was the highest score to that point. So we'll see.
Fantastic.
We don't know. Who knows what's going to happen?
Well, who knows? Before we move on, just want to have a quick look at we have our Mastermind prediction competition. These were the most popular guesses. None of the ones of the most popular cathedral guesses came up. We did have Hereford come up. That's the only point that was scored there. Dolly Parton, Pigeon Forge came up. Wainwright, Blackburn Rovers came up. RFK, I don't think any of those came up. So what that means to the scores this week, Benny got 4, Huang Yi got 4, Michael McPartland got 4. So he had Mason there. He's clawed back his gap on Philip Isaac by another point. He got 3. Philip got 2. And Pam, as ever, gets points. So this is what the table now looks like. Philip Isaac 1 point ahead of Ed, with Pam and Toby Atala in third. So well done to all of those. Steve, before we let you go, one final question. Are you allowed to tell us what you're doing in the semi-final?
Yes, I am, yeah. I'm really down with the kids with this one, actually, Gareth. This is the prog rock years of Genesis I'm doing.
Oh, so. I thought you were going to say Blackpink or something like that, but no, it's...
Okay. Down with the kids my age, basically. Yeah, so it's all Peter Gabriel, Phil Collins and all that sort of stuff.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, we wish you all the best with that, and hopefully we'll chat again when it comes to semi-final time. But for tonight, Steve, congratulations. Thanks for coming on and chatting to us.
Pleasure.
Hopefully we'll see you again soon. Okay, and I'm now going to play a short video thanking our Patreons. Cheers, Steve. Huge thanks to our community of All Things Quiz members. Your support helps us to keep this channel going. It pays for essential running costs. Now, if you want to become a member of All Things Quiz, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/allthingsquiz. And from £3 a month, you not only get to support the work of this channel, but there are a range of member benefits available, including our monthly quiz. Hope to see you soon. So, yes, we had our members quiz last night. That was won by the Four Stooges, who were Paul Hibbert, Chris Dyson, Gilles Bourque, and Patrick Buckingham. Well done to them. Now, the main order of the day, after that wonderful entree from Steve, is the Only Connect Grand Final. We're just checking to see if everybody's there right now. So let's bring on first. Let's bring on the Also Rans, and then we'll also bring on the Thrifters. Here we go. Also Rans and Thrifters. Is that everybody? I think it is.
Yeah. Hi, everybody.
Evening all.
Hello.
Evening.
Hello.
Well, that was quite the final. There is one thing I have to do before I do anything else. And yes, I did make two of those. I didn't know who won. I mean, that was a fantastic match. It ebbed and flowed. I said at the start on Twitter, I don't know which way this is going to go. And I'm glad I said that, because it went right down to the final seconds of the match. I mean, I don't like to jump straight to the end, but I guess the obvious question is, you guys didn't have a clue who won, did you?
No, not at all. I was convinced, if anything, that we'd lost.
Counting.
Dan, you were counting, were you?
Mm.
So
we didn't know
said
anyway.
to me just as Roy was talking that they've done it.
Yeah. It was interesting because. Sorry, go on, Harry.
Well,
Jack.
Well, when we lost that point, there was just this sort of feeling of bliss, and I just remember this thought occurring in my head of, it's okay, we runners up. That's all right. It's fine. And I just sort of that feeling just never left me. So I just never even thought that we could win from that point.
We've got a whole bunch of people, loads of people saying, congratulations. So that's from Benjamin, Pam. Hello, finalists. Well done. Commiserations. The commiserations will be obviously to Also Rans. John Warren from last series. Well done. Well played. All legends. Chris. Well played. All. Paul Lavery. I feel like every time I tune in, those guys at the bottom are on. That is the weird thing about this part of the series, that it just kind of, you keep coming back on. Pam speaks for all of us, I think, when I thought a tie break was coming. Would that have been the most excruciating way to decide it? I mean, there have been a few tie breaks this series.
I would have taken a tie break.
In hindsight, yeah. How about you, Sam?
Well, we'd just done a tie break in the semi-final, so I didn't know if I could genuinely put myself through another one of those. So I'm glad it didn't come to that, thankfully, because Dan is just so fast as well on the buzzer. So, yeah.
I did ask Mr. Whaley Cohen afterwards what would have been the tie break question, and he wouldn't tell me. He said they've only got a limited number of them. Will reveal. So I don't know.
Might see it next year then. We'll see. Yeah.
Well, that's it. Why waste it? Have we got? Yes, we have got everybody. There's Ed says, congrats to the Thrifters. Maybe should have been -1 point though, for saying that Mumbles is close enough to Cardiff.
It's an ongoing joke. The UK geography is absolutely abysmal. So for me, they could have well been next door. I have no idea. So
yeah. Claire from you got Data Wizards, was it?
Correct.
Something like that.
Yep.
Claire says, welcome to the club, Thrifters. So yeah, it was a fantastic match to watch, to play in. How did it feel? What, last week we had the 3rd, 4th place playoff, which was kind of like the shits and giggles game where you could just enjoy it for fun. How was this by comparison for you?
I did feel it was much more. I felt it felt different. I felt like the nerves were really ratcheted up to a whole new level. That I think because in the morning before we were just trying to find a way to keep calm and everything. So I think Claire and I we went to a museum and had a walk around to try and get our minds completely off it. But even so, in the game, it was kind of felt like I was probably shaking. It was a whole different kettle of fish.
Yeah. Was that common? I could see nods coming in from Jack and Sam, particularly.
It's a bit weird for me. I think round 1 was probably very tense, but I don't know. I sort of felt a bit more at ease once round 2 had started, especially once we got a few more points on the board in that round. I mean, we'd gone into after round 2 of the semi-final, we only had 2 points, so already it was off to a good start when we got the 3 points. and then another 2 points to the alphabet one, which we sort of scraped a little bit. And then it's like, you know what, we're doing all right here. Let's just try and enjoy it, sort of thing.
Yeah. We've got a bombshell in the chat from Jack Whaley Cohen. We didn't have one ready.
Why didn't tell me? Yeah.
Had you used them all up, Jack, at that
It would have
point?
just been a draw at that point then. So, yeah.
Well, that's it. Just share it at the end of the fantastic series. Just share it, and everybody goes home a winner. That first round, it was a tight affair. 2-3, a few negs. Are you expecting kind of brutally, mind-bendingly hard questions in the grand final, Dan?
Yeah, well, I think Victoria had started just before she started recording. She said she'd looked through the questions and she thought that they were actually reasonably fair for a final. I think that's the way they played out, because there were some negs, but I think that they were negs because we cocked up between us answers that we probably should have got. And I can't speak for the thrifters, but certainly looking back, it was like, I can't believe we didn't get that. We were so close on, the John Travolta one, for example, where it was, they're dancing, and I knew, I said it's the dance scene from Pulp Fiction and dancing in that and not making the connection. So they were very gettable.
I'm glad they didn't show my face when you said Tarantino.
I mean, that was actually edited with
a huge scowl.
A few more seconds, and we were sort of fishing around the right answer. We just couldn't quite make it. And there was quite a few questions, I think, like that, and possibly the thrifters felt the same way. So, although I don't know how many negs were there, or X's, probably 3, 4, maybe 5. I think they were all gettable, and
overall they felt more accessible than previous shows in the series.
Yeah,
either ours or other people's.
There was 2 that I think were ridiculous, but the rest were probably fine. I think the railway one was insane, and
the Morse code.
The Morse code one, yeah, I think that.
The Morse code one is the one I'm kicking myself, because
really?
I know what DAC is, and I was thinking it's short. Is it short long or short long or long short? And I was getting so mixed up in my head over which was long and short symbols. I never made the connection to Morse code, which actually it could have been a 5.
We should have all have been saying long and short, and then we probably would have got there.
Yeah. So, it's another one I think that just slipped through our fingers, possibly.
Yeah. There was a one. Go on, carry on.
With the Bond one, I didn't realise that they didn't know that it was Blofeld.
Yeah,
so if I'd said,
I didn't know it was Blofeld.
Yeah, I didn't know they didn't know, because I thought everybody knew that. So a bit of teamwork falling down there. And
it's amazing what we don't know, Claire.
Yes.
Donald Pleasance ought to have been fine. Christoph Waltz ought to have been fine, but I just didn't know the earliest Blofeld.
Charles Gray.
Yeah, I did wonder whether that was going to be all of these people play Blofeld question, but that felt kind of a bit too obvious.
We'd been through the Only Connect database, and one of the questions, I don't remember what series it was, but they asked about Nick Nack before, and it was we were just on the off chance, we should probably try and remember his name because he might come up again, sort of half joking. We just couldn't remember it when it came to the show. We were like, who is this guy? We all recognised him, we just couldn't remember what his name was in the moment. It just completely went. And maybe that would have helped, but I mean, even then, I'm not sure we would have got there. So
yeah, I mean, I was going down the route of share their names with corn snacks, So it's just.
Well, I was just watching that at home. My partner Jen, she said, "Oh, Nick Nack, is it crisps?" And it's very doable to do that. Yeah.
There was an interesting one that came up, and we got a comment here. Hang on. About the Kobayashi question you preempted.
Okay.
That was freaky. Who was that? Was that you, Jack? Or was that Will?
Harry.
Harry.
Oh, it's Harry. Oh,
yeah.
Yes. Looking at also as I mean, that was curious. Was it just because I don't know what. We weren't in a starter for 10 situation, Harry, where you just stumbled on the question cards or something. No, I'm joking. You wouldn't do that.
Oh, nice garden, whatever it was.
No, it was because I at the back of my again, it was one of those ones where maybe in a different day or my mind was already kind of thinking, is it because I think we even said it at that point that maybe these are things that people got their names from in films, and I was thinking, and that made me think of The Usual Suspects without really seeing that to the clues we were seeing on screen. And then Kobayashi was it's been so long since I've seen The Usual Suspects that didn't clinch it for me, because I was like, that adds nothing. Are we talking about the Kobayashi for real? Is this are we going to start?
I of course still haven't seen it, so I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well,
No spoilers.
the cleverness of that question was the red herring from the first clue, because it made us all think Shawshank Redemption, because obviously the big poster of Rita Hayworth. So, and that's obviously, I expect that's deliberate to throw us on the wrong track, because when the second clue came, I knew exactly the Die Hard reference, but I couldn't make it fit with the poster from Shawshank Redemption, which is why we had to take clues 3 and 4. If it had been the other way around, then maybe we would have risked it a bit earlier.
That's why it wasn't.
That's exactly why it was there.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I've been doing this for nearly 15 years, isn't it? Right, the question.
So, I mean, at the end of round 1, there's only a point in it. Everything's nice and tight. Round 2 had, I mean, Will, got to be one of the greatest moments of your life, really. Will, I've never used How does it feel to hear those words aimed in your direction?
I don't hear it very often. It'll surprise me. So it was a very pleasant surprise. It sort of it relieved some of the tension, I suppose. In the it was quite a nice, light-hearted moment, and made me relax a little bit. I think.
I do think Victoria was very good at sort of like trying to make it a bit light-hearted, even though it was the massive pressure of the final. It helped us feel a bit more relaxed, I think, as well. Definitely.
Yeah, and that's good. And that came from the brilliant answer, the countries with the increasing number of vowels, but you had to kind of give the vowel in the right position and whatever. It was
And I had to go past that to Will. I was like, you can say it because I can't work it out in my head. Because actually, you forget everything. You know. Yeah, I didn't even know what like the order of the vowels in that moment. It was like my head completely empty at this point.
Yeah.
They just set the light bulb off in my head. Oh yeah, it is vowels. We want one with all 5, and luckily I knew Mozambique fitted that bill.
Yeah. So you had
whispering Mozambique in my ear. So we were waiting for that one.
So you had that lovely moment, Will. But also, Rans, you also had a really nice moment of kind of affirmation from Victoria when she was raving about your coins answer. And I have to say, I did really think at the time that just the clear thinking of, rather than spending ages guessing whether it was facing left or right, the lateral thinking of going for Charles III, because it did really matter, was just such a lovely piece of clear thinking that it gets you the points. So, you got it on the second clue. Is that the sort of clear thinking that comes from playing together in Connections League as well as this, or just the more you get to know each other, the better you are at communicating and being on the same wavelength?
That's just a Harry sort of question.
You could almost see the penny drop. Coin. Because it was just kind of like, what direction is she facing? Hang on, this doesn't matter. They alternate. So I think it probably does help that we, as with any of these questions, it's kind of you always have faith in your teammates that if you don't know them, they'll know. You don't see clue one.
I think you've passed over the brilliance of Harry knowing the first painting from the first clue was someone looking away from the canvas. I mean, because that obviously unlocked the.
I could see that picture as well. I just couldn't remember who painted it, but I knew the picture.
I'm annoyed I forgot Friedrich's name, but wasn't
I think I had the same thing after
I
think I had the same thing after the second round. I just went Caspar David Friedrich.
Yeah. That was just it was a lovely answer. So I do think it's nice. Victoria gave kind of a nice bit of kudos to both teams, and again, as you say, in a heated not heated, but in a tense environment in studio, that sort of thing has got to be a good thing. Benjamin's put an interesting comment here. I honestly think final questions belong to a precise Venn diagram, the best concepts, the most difficult ones, and the editor's favorites. I think we certainly saw some really nice concepts, a couple of very difficult ones. We'll have to wait to hear from Jack Whaley-Cohen whether the editor's favorites went in. But with those first 2 rounds, you got the Prime Minister's prime numbers. It was tough, but the Bond one, tough. The longest station names.
That was insane.
Clanfire PG. Nobody wanting to have a go at that one, I guess. But there was some real toughies. But as befits a final, 5 points to also-rans, 9 points to thrifters. Were you aware of kind of your relative strengths going into the final? Did you have kind of a sense of what it would mean if you were ahead or behind at any given point?
We knew the vowels were going to be super tricky because we played the practice ones with the studio manager, and they were buzzing in, I swear, before they came on the screen. So we knew we were going to be up against it.
Yeah, I thought we'd lost at that point. I genuinely thought it was 4 points is going to be too much to overturn, because I didn't anticipate that we would outscore them on the wall. Obviously, we knew that in the final they'd won 4 out of 4. They were going to be a strong team. But I thought we're going to be probably 4 points behind, maybe more, and it's going to be too difficult for us to come back. So yeah, that was probably the only time I thought throughout the whole series that we'd actually blown it.
Yeah, and Thrifters with a 4-point lead going into the wall, you must be thinking, well, as long as we don't completely blow this, we're going to be in a good position.
Yes. Yeah. Like you said, we've gone in having 10 points on all 4 of the walls so far. So we're thinking this is pretty good, this. And then Victoria put the kiss of death on it, going, I don't think this wall's too bad, actually. And then it all went away from there. Yeah. I don't know what happened. I think we just sort of got flummoxed by the 6 hieroglyphs. And I should have cycled them a lot better. I don't know what happened there. It just kind of, I don't know, pressure started to seep in, I guess, and it just went a bit pear-shaped. Yeah.
But interestingly, we didn't bother cycling them at all, because we thought that was a fool's errand.
Well, I just remember repeatedly saying, Sam, the hieroglyphs aren't there. And in my head, I knew I was wrong, but I just...
Yeah. I thought I'd try like most combinations at that point, so I was like, maybe.
I just thought it was the best thing to say in the moment.
In hindsight, like, how could they have not been there? There was no way there was like different routes that didn't do that. Well, I don't know. You just in the moment, you're just stressing out. Well, thankfully, mainly due to Will, we did salvage 5 points out of it, which
it's weird because
go on.
God, sorry. As soon as it was resolved, I went, oh well, they're. I mean, I didn't sound that confident. I went, oh, they're heavy, and then I kind of spotted it as soon as it was resolved. I went, why did I not see them earlier? Why did I just? I think I was like everyone. I was blinded by those hieroglyphs. I just didn't think to have the clarity of mind in that moment, which I've normally been quite good at, to sort of get rid of them and look at what else was on the wall.
It's a very difficult thing if your mind just keeps taking you in one direction to break out of that kind of thought process. So if you keep thinking, well, we've just got to get these hieroglyphs, as Jack said, just maybe it's not that, try and break away. But it was, it proved tricky. I did like the modest mouse guess. At one point,
just throwing anything at the wall at that point and seeing what stuck, and none of it did. But never mind. Yes.
So it's a nice throw. And this is Jack has put in here. The Thrifters have scored 10 on all their previous walls, if I remember correctly. So yes.
We also had Jack reminding us of that every time we filmed. It was like Jack was going, right, so far. We might be the only team to do 5 perfect walls, and then I think that was in the back of my head as well. And just
absolute kiss of death.
Yeah, exactly.
We did have. Obviously, we had somebody saying you should be Dr. Point for your comment about Mumbles, but also the controversy of calling Only Connected game show. I mean, I wouldn't check your private message.
Yes. I have to go on private, lock everything down. I'm going to get so much hate for that on Twitter.
Just before we move on, I joke about it, but what sort of reaction have you had? Have you had people contacting you during the course of the series, sending you DMs and all that sort of thing?
Definitely. There's more, as long as it's gone on more and more, like people like from school and stuff that I've not spoken to for years. It's been nice actually just to know that people are actually watching you. You kind of forget, like, when you're there, that like 3 million people watch this show on a regular basis. It's insane, actually.
I hope he isn't watching, but my previous job, I worked for a council, and the former deputy leader of the council has just dug up my phone number from when I worked there and messaged me congratulations.
GDPR.
I was going to say GDPR.
What about you also, Ramsey? Have you had any of those kind of spotted in the street kind of encounters or anything, or people coming out of the woodwork?
I had somebody came to the office to see one of my colleagues and said, "Oh, were you on Only Connect?" Which was that was fun.
Yeah, I had. I've not really had anyone other than people sort of I know or sort of friends of friends until this weekend just gone. I was up at a trade show at the NEC, and I was with a colleague who doesn't really know that I do any quizzing. He doesn't know I've been on TV. And people just kept coming up to me and saying, "Oh, good luck," or "Well done," or "Saw you on the telly." And he was absolutely baffled by what was going on. These random strangers kept coming up to me and wishing me good luck. This was just like a few days ago. So yeah, that was quite nice because you sort of forget that so many people watch it, and it is nice when someone comes up and all they want to do is talk to you about the show. I was actually trying to pitch something to a potential client, and he's like, "Have we met before?" And I sort of said, "Oh, no, I don't think so. We might have done it this, and this." And he said, eventually I'd say, "Oh, and I was on TV last week." He's going, "Oh, good, you're on Only Connect, you're on also." And all he wants to talk about Only Connect. And me and my wife would sit down and watch it. And I've no idea if I've got his business, but it was good advice anyway.
Can't hurt.
I had an email from a client as well because I just sent her tax return and I'd not met her because she lives way up the other end of the country. And she said, "Oh, is it too much of a coincidence, or were you on Only Connect?" So that was nice as well.
Mm-hmm. And I've been recognised by nobody in the wild. I feel like I've been into work, walking through Birmingham the day, in the week after appearing on the show, and been like,
yeah,
no.
Literally striding around.
Yeah.
I did feel horrible. I wore the shirt to the British Museum, and I was going like, surely somebody here would recognize. Yeah. I did get another email from another counsellor who said he'd been on University Challenge 20 years ago, so he knew not to ask me any further questions because it had already been filmed.
Nice. Well, that's good because you do sometimes get people fishing. Jack has put in the chat Easter eggs on the wall. The hieroglyphs were in the order they appear for selection in round 1 and 2, except in each wall 2 were swapped over, and these were the 2 that weren't in the hieroglyphs group. I think that's too devious for you to spot at the moment.
But yeah, we'll spot that.
But he must have been chuckling to himself at that point. Hammers, I've still got people asking me about the show. There you go, the true breakout star of the series, Pam Douglas. Or Polly, maybe. Yes, so that was your wall, 5 points. So you you're not out of it.
We knew like maximum and probably 1 point down, and so we were.
Yeah. Now wall 2 also round. Claire, you played a bit of a blinder in this one early on. You got the mountain connection. I think you picked up the pronouns as well, if I remember rightly. I mean, that just makes a real big difference, doesn't it? When you can get something out of the way quickly.
Yeah. Because after that, we were just left with 4 hieroglyphs and 4 poets.
Yeah.
I think our tactic was quite good there because we obviously saw the hieroglyphs and decided just to ignore them. We saw there were poets and very quickly realised there were a lot of poets, too many to cycle through. So I think Claire just instantly came up with, well, that's mountain and that's pronouns. And then that was, that was the whole thing. I didn't remember until just watching it back just how quickly we solved it. I mean, it must have been 90 seconds maybe. Tops.
Well, I was just looking at the word anthem and it didn't fit in with anything at all. So I thought, okay, well, what's it got?
Yeah, and I think that is the bit where playing like the Connections Online Quiz League did help because we're so used to trying to look. I know it's the same with the Thrifters as well, but you're so used to looking for the ends of words and things, which are anagrams and things that those can quite quickly fall into place.
Once you spot them, it makes a difference.
It was only our second 10-pointer of the series because we got I think we had 10-5, 7-7 in our previous matches. So we didn't come in with as strong a wall game as the Thrifters. So it was obviously a necessary 10 points, but it was certainly by no means guaranteed.
It made it exciting, didn't it? Anyway,
it did make it exciting.
I've had some lovely comments on it as well.
I wrote down, and I've now forgotten why, but I wrote down good. What? Can you remind me what that was about on your wall?
Oh, I think I said that because I said, do we have any doubts here? Because I just it felt too simple that we were about to like finish the wall and like wait, are we certain on everything? And then I said, oh yeah, we're fine, good. Let's go.
Yeah, all right, that was it. I mean, that's
what I seem to like.
Yeah, it's a beautiful position to be in as well. When you're chasing the game, you need to get a 10 realistically to kind of put yourself in a good position, and to know that you've solved it without the time pressure. Fantastic. And what you didn't know, of course, is you were going to go into missing vowels with a 1-point lead. The first time you hear it, as we know, is when you're in studio. So again, you didn't have a clue, I guess, that the Thrifters had not aced their wall. So what's the emotional kind of change, changing the dynamic when you realise that?
We're still in this.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, having gone into the wall thinking, oh, we've blown it, to suddenly, no, we haven't. We're back in it, and the round is starting literally in 3 seconds. It didn't there wasn't enough time to process the facts. Yeah. So it was. I mean, it must have been brilliant to watch if you didn't know what was happening, because there was a 1-point difference after round 1, then a big lead for the Thrifters after round 2, then it flipped into a small lead for us end of round 3. And then, right the way, there was never more than a couple of points in it. So it must have been a cracking watch.
It absolutely was. I guess the flip side is for the Thrifters. You're kind of waiting with bated breath to find out what the damage is.
Yeah.
But only a point. You knew that was the worst it would be. So did you have any kind of thinking, any kind of plan on how you would tackle the missing vowels?
I mean, the assumption was always going to be they probably got 10. That's what we worked with in every single game. And so we thought we were a point down. I don't think there was any special strategy. Just sort of do what we normally do. I don't think you can sort of go, let's go mad unless you're really, really behind. So just play it as we normally do and see what happens. And yeah, that's basically it. Sorry to be boring and not have a strategy, but that was it.
And then that's the reality. Pam's made a comment, and maybe Jack can enlighten us, because it's been the case at times that if more time is taken up on the walls, the less time you have for vowels. So Pam has put, perhaps you should have taken more time, so there would be fewer missing vowels. That's to the also rans, but of course you didn't know at that stage what the situation would be. So it'd be interesting to know whether they do adjust the amount of missing vowels. We had 2 full sets, didn't we, and then 1 half set. So I guess they probably do.
I think in this case, I think that's probably pretty much the minimum number of clues they have. So they probably just would have cut out some rambling somewhere else in the show if
I absolutely can't. I absolutely can't wait for it to become a strategy in Series 20. Teams ahead just waiting for the last second to solve the wall.
Yeah,
I think teams have done it in the past. I've heard
we did it. We did it in Series 10, and it got known as wall stall, because you would just you would just sit there going, now let's just go through them all again just to be really, really sure. And so you would take your time to kind of eat up time on the clock, to reduce the number of missing vowels. And then in the missing vowels, we would be very slow at giving the answers, just to eat up a bit more time. It came in for criticism, and I think they changed it for a while, so there would be kind of a set number of missing vowels. But we just viewed it as the equivalent of a football player taking the ball to the corner flag near the end. It was just that's playing.
Sounds well dodgy to me.
Yeah,
not in the spirit of the game, is it? Yeah.
Well,
I mean, like bodyline bowling.
I think that's a little harsh. I'm certainly not the Douglas Jardine of Only Connect, but
you won't get invited back for the third place playoff.
Well, I mean, maybe that explains it, Harry. Maybe that explains why they never did one. So the missing vowels events in US, but not in a state. You tied both of those. One thing I did. Oh, hang on. Here we go. Extra or less time on vowels is not a thing anymore. Hasn't been for many years. So yeah, I reckon it's at least. I mean, season 10 it was, but perhaps a good 6-7 years now. It's not been, if not more. We heard it here from Jack. So what I did notice though was that we saw it a number of times. Certainly noticed one with you, Dan, was the speed of you going for the buzzers. You'd see Dan buzz, but actually you weren't in. Because it
looked like I put my fist through the desk. I was so hard.
So this must have been like a ferocious, buzzer race each time.
I mean, the whole thing has come down to hundredths of a second. Let's be honest. If there was a clock on each of those, I expect sort of 5 or 6 people were buzzing pretty much simultaneously.
Yeah. I was marginally too slow on Scotsman because I couldn't remember what a demonym was.
No, I was the same. So I'm glad that Will got the first one because I had completely forgot what it was. So that's sort of like, oh, that's what that is. Now I can actually go for it.
And then I was ready for the Irishman, but still too slow.
And that was, I mean, I guess there was one other critical moment, which was the neg by the thrifters potentially could have changed the whole game.
That was our first ever neg as well.
Does something sink inside you when that happens?
A little bit, yeah. I think that was the turning point where I was like, "Oh, it's done now," sort of thing. Because I think I saw something else. I knew the first one, and I was like, "Oh, it's not that." And then Jack, bless him, just had to go at any random.
Yeah. I again was looking at the end of clues, and I was just like, "Okay, that looks like the word harbour."
Yeah, we'll go with that.
I knew the first bit of it, so I started it off thinking, hopefully, someone's going to come in and save me here and get this last word. But
I think it was another case as well of it being a sort of like a what's the word, like a connection where it was like it wasn't immediately clear what it actually meant. So until you saw the first one, you didn't really know what you were looking for. So.
I think there's two pivotal moments in the whole show. If obviously with the 1 point difference at the end, if I could pick out two moments, is the John Travolta one that we had in the palm of our hand and let slip. But the second one was not picking up. It was Blur because I knew the song was Midnight at the Oasis.
Yeah,
I'm thinking. What's the opposite of an oasis?
Yeah.
Rather than what's a rival to an oasis? So I'm thinking of what's particularly dry in the desert. 3/4 of the world was there. It was BLR. So all I had to say was read it as it was. It was Midnight at the Blur. That would have been
I was pleased they edited out Victoria's comment on that because it just seemed to rub salt in the wound. Because she said at the end that you were probably the only winners that had ever negged in the missing vowels.
Ooh.
Well, coming back from an egg, I think was which is I don't know. It might well be the case. I'm not sure.
I'm sure there'll be a statistician somewhere who'll tell us. A historian of Only Connect. Jack has just clarified something. It's always 90 seconds in studio, sometimes edited down a bit in the final cut to remove silence, etc. So there you go, 90 seconds. So I guess if they're being solved nice and quickly, there's no thinking time. You might get more in, but. Yeah, so maybe it would pay dividends to be a bit slower if you're ahead reading, because it would eat up time. But you would not get Claire's approval for that. So probably not worth doing.
It shows how much attention we all paid to the dossier of documents they send us about gameplay, because I'm sure it's probably in there, but it's 90 seconds and always 90 seconds. But we know how to play.
So, Dan, you were counting. That very last buzz came right at the death. So, was there a temptation to kind of buzz in and hope you get it, or were you simply beaten to it? What was the story there?
Or I don't even remember the last clue coming up. To be honest.
The Irishman and film.
Yeah, I think it was Irishman film, and then it was over. I didn't even know if another clue had come up, and I don't even know if I got it from that. But
The other one didn't come up. She just showed it to us as this is what it would have been, but there was no time for it.
Yeah. So you knew, Dan, what the result was.
Yeah.
Because you count. The thrifters didn't. In fact, looked like you thought you'd lost.
I think I think you can pick it up if you like listen in. I'm whispering to Will, we've lost by a point. So
particularly when she said it was by a point. Yeah.
There's a bit where it sort of it's pans out and we're both shaking our heads.
Yeah.
But the feeling must be immense when you actually then hear that you've won. Can you put into words? Well, Jack, you look like you kind of. I mean, was it there was a previous episode where there were tears? Was this another one where it was incredibly emotional?
So the presentation of the trophy took about 5 takes, and we were all sort of being put into position, all sorts of preparation. And I think I just been sort of okay. Then I'll use this moment to cry. And Victoria at the desk was like, "No, wait, everything's okay." And she pulls out her bag, which, for those who don't know, have panels that look like the wall on them, and takes out some tissues. Which is very nice because sort of I assume she is under the same sort of veil of silence rules as everyone else on the production. Sort of hadn't really talked to us until that point. So it was nice for just sort of everything to kind of come off.
Yeah. Will, how are you feeling at the end of all of that?
I think shock was the main thing. I didn't think we'd done it. I knew it was close, but I was pretty. So it was just absolute shock, and then elation, and then it was crazy, really. And then thinking what a great game it's been, and just it's everything really at that moment. It's difficult to put into words, or to put it into succinct words.
Yeah, Sam, how about you?
Pretty much the same shock. I remember going to the green room afterwards and them being like, "You can celebrate now," and I just felt like in a daze sort of thing. I think it's also sort of a bit of imposter syndrome. It's like we're actually quite good at this. We've actually won a quiz. Just incredible. And as I say, I thought we'd lost by a point, and I was surprised in the moment. I was like, you know what? I actually don't mind that we've lost this. Like, we've had a good go. We've got so far, and we would have lost to like amazing team.
I think we said that after every single round, though, didn't we? We said after the first round, we just want to get through this round and get through this round, and it was like taking it one step,
and it snowballed.
So you won. You got the trophy. Also rounds. I mean, you formed because you're all Mastermind finalists. You took a self-deprecating team name. Also rounds.
And we're very good at living up to it.
Isn't it?
But I hope you take immense pride from what you've achieved, because getting to the Only Connect final is a fantastic achievement. And and I know there will be kind of ifs and buts, and you can see where you might have done differently. But the passage of time, we're a good few months on. Do you look back on it now and think, actually, we did something good here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit like when if you follow a football team and you sort of lose in the final by like a last minute goal, and you feel a little bit shell shocked for a little while afterwards. The drive home afterwards, it was kind of there was a lot still to like process afterwards. But yeah, I think by the time it kind of came around to the series starting, I came to peace with it eventually. It's done. We did the best we can. There's no point in overanalyzing every last question.
Yeah.
Didn't stop us, though, did it?
Well, no, I mean, it happens, doesn't it? When we lost our semi-final, I was thinking about it so much on the way back. I'd stop at services because I was in tears. It was like, oh God, it was like, it does get to you. Dan, how about you? Were you able to be philosophical eventually?
Yeah, I mean, to an extent. Watching it back, I'll be honest, I've been somewhat dreading the final because I'm actually been. I mean, it's probably wrong to think it, but I've actually felt a bit embarrassed that I thought I've messed it up because I'm taking a bit of responsibility for a couple of that I should have got. I should have got this one, I should have got that one, whatever. But watching it back, actually, it wasn't as bad as I thought. So in my head, I've magnified it to be. I thought it was shocking, and I haven't been telling my friends, it's on tonight at 8 o'clock. Whereas in the previous rounds, I've been sort of sending a note to my mates saying, we're on tonight, 8 o'clock, BBC Two. But I haven't done that today, and perhaps I should have been. That's being a little bit childish, perhaps, to be embarrassed about it, because I don't think there is anything to be embarrassed about. No, but when we look back across the series, I think someone on our Only Connect chat group has pointed out that I think 3 of the quarterfinals, both semi-finals and the final, were all decided by a point or a tiebreaker. Yeah. So, there's no point in dwelling on one question we could have got in the final, because we could have easily have lost the semi-final by a point, or we could have lost the quarterfinal by a point. And there's been so many good teams that any one of half a dozen teams could have won that final. Yeah. And I suppose getting to the final is something we should be proud of.
It was an amazing series, brilliantly cast by the casting team to get teams that were so well matched and produce such great performances and were so engaging and lovely to watch. Claire, you've written a poem. Do you want to read it?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you.
So you were reflecting on the Only Connect experience from your perspective. So this is written, back in May, was it? Just after?
Yeah. Blofeld and Oddjob and Knick Knack and Drax are spelling out Bond, but it fell through the cracks. That ditty is an Anna piece, though this aside's in Trokey. I can't believe we left so many points upon the table. We spotted 2 Travolta films, but link we were not able. If you didn't know already, Trokey rhymes with hokey cokey. We can be really proud of the points that we scored, though we know 5 or 6 that we left on the board. This is not anapieced, it's dactylic, you see. It's beautiful scansion for riddle me ree. The music question, not the twisted flax. I pinched that. Did you spot it? That's a sin. The Britpop vowels and our slow reacts are all examples of what might have been. Iambic pentameter. Here's the facts. Although called also rans, we'd rather win. We knew the clues were all for feet in verse, although it's sad the added letters threw us. But though we didn't spot the bits of Morse, we satisfy ourselves we did beat Lewis.
You're kind of beating yourself up at points in there, talking about the
John
points.
Cooper.
And I guess that was written kind of when it was still raw. When you look back on it now, are you reflecting more generously on yourselves?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to take time to say congratulations to the Thrifters, because we're sounding a little bit sorry for ourselves. Now, we were beaten by a team who won 5 matches out of 5, which is absolutely superb, and they've proved themselves to be worthy winners. And I didn't know that they'd had 4 10s in a row on the wall, which is fantastic. But also, can I just say, Gareth, I think we have to pay a bit of tribute to some of the other teams we played on the way, who could easily have been in this final. And I was just thinking about it earlier. I have to say, I think the player of the entire series was, if I had to pick like a team of the tournament, I'd pick Jamie from the Mercians, who I thought has been outstanding throughout. He's not just his speed on the buzzer, but he's just pulled out answers on first round, second round wall. He's been brilliant. And I was telling someone earlier that because both teams here and the Mercians, we play online connections week in, week out. The Suncatchers, I thought, have been absolutely brilliant, because they're a scratch team. They come together. They complemented each other so well. I thought Ben was a brilliant captain and ably assisted by Alice and Charlotte. And I think that they're probably the team of the tournament, I'd say, just because of the fact that they're up against teams who nowadays and last couple of series and probably series in future are playing against teams who play this format week in, week out. And it's really, really difficult to go up against that now. I'd even go so far as to say it's hard to win Only Connect if you're not playing in a regular format week in, week out. So, just a little nod to some of the people we've played along the way who have made it such a great series.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, for them to get so far without even ever playing like the online version, they've never played a game of Only Connect before, like the format as a team, and they were amazing. Like I say, Jamie as well, 100%. He was the MVP for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been an absolutely a classic series, just so good from start to finish. Was it show 1 when the Mercians went and got some ridiculously high score? Either show 1 or show 2, and it's kind of it's just been the highest standard and really, really enjoyable. Jack, just over your shoulder, is that the trophy?
That is the trophy.
Do you get one each nowadays?
Yeah, we didn't even know that we all got one.
Okay,
I've had to hide that in my apartment for 8 months. My housemate's not here right now, but he's watched it and he had no well
done.
I don't think he had any idea.
That is quite impressive, but I know what it's like trying to keep your mouth shut when you want to tell the whole world. It's
genuinely the weirdest secret to keep, especially because you don't believe it yourself. Sort of going back, so I showed a friend Series 18 and sort of went back over that in previous finals and just thinking, I've been in one of those. It's not just something that happens to other people. And it's very difficult for it to sink in that that's a real thing that's happened to you.
Yeah.
It's also it's a weird thing to keep as a secret when you've lost as well, because when people say, "Oh, you're in the final now," and like, "Oh, so how do you do?" Like you say, "Well, you don't want to keep the secret, so I can't say," and they always take that as like, "Oh, so you can't say," and like, I can't say, but maybe, but it's not I can't say.
One of my friends said yesterday at church, he said, "It's tomorrow, isn't it?" And I said, "Yes." He says, "You're smiling." I said, "That's who I am."
Coming out the other side of it, I mean, we could talk all day, and I'll, and we can't really, but we could talk all day about everything that's happened in the series. But what are your takeaways? Having played the series, having played as many games as you could have played, does it kind of change you in any way? Getting this far, winning it, being runners up. Does it give you confidence? What is the kind of the impact on your life of the Only Connect experience? Start perhaps with Sam and Thrifters.
Oh dear. I don't know. I think just more like confidence that we're actually quite good at this. Like that's definitely sort of like vindication in a way. And it was just a lovely experience. I enjoyed every minute of it. It was also very stressful a lot of the time, and you kind of had to remind yourself sometimes. I did agree to this. I'm here. I am supposed to be trying to have fun here, because you are just like so in the zone. But no, overall, such a great experience. The crew was amazing. Victoria was like literally what she is on TV. That's not an act. That is just her, and she was so kind, and it was just a pleasure to do it all. Loved it.
Will?
Pretty much the same, really. It was such a wonderful experience, and it was sad, really, once we finished, thinking we're not doing this again. We're not. That's it. It's the end of the journey, as it were. So it was wonderful. I think probably too late for next series, but anyone who hasn't done it should really consider doing it, because it's such fun.
Jack, how about you?
It has been the greatest experience and achievement of my life so far. It's going to be very difficult to top, but it's just being part of that community and sort of seeing people come out and sort of, that I've seen on previous series, previous alumni sort of congratulate me and the team, and seeing sort of strangers and people sort of commentate and talk about the series has been just a really strange but lovely, wonderful experience. And it's been wonderful to sort of sit and watch and be part of this.
Yeah,
and I'm so grateful to everybody.
It's given me more sort of appreciation for like the format as well. I know next series I'll be like eagerly like watching along, because as much as I loved the show before, I didn't really realize how the format worked. So it just kind of felt like, oh, they're on again this week, sort of thing. Whereas like now I'm really going to be following along, like, oh, these guys beat them guys, and now they're in the quarterfinal and all this. It's added a whole new dimension to it for me.
Yeah. Sure. Also, Rans, you've been in a position, the name says it all, of getting to a final before. But again, this is a different experience. You're in a team, you're not individual. How has that had an impact on you? How does it differ from Mastermind?
I think for me, it was kind of like, you also know that it's your one shot, because like with Mastermind, that I think even when I was coming out of Mastermind, I was like, well, maybe in a few years' time when I feel like I can do it again, I could do it again. Well, with Only Connect, that it's kind of, you have your one shot unless you're picked from the bag to come back for a special, but that's kind of it. So it's a bit like it's hard to go cold turkey after you've had the amazing highs and lows of Only Connect over a very short period of time with the actual filming, and then think that you can't do it again. So that's the hardest thing, but it's one of those things. I know it's a cliche, and everyone always says it coming out of Only Connect, but it's such a lovely experience, and everyone's so nice on there that it's kind of, even though I'm sure every team every team that didn't win it in the end, so almost all the teams would have come out feeling really positive about their experiences. So
Dan, again, different from Mastermind. Do you take the positives away from this?
Yeah, it's almost become a sort of a running joke amongst my mates. I've got this sort of string of runners up. A wrong question on a wrong answer on Millionaire, a 15-1 final where I came second on Mastermind, second in this. It has actually become so common. It's almost funny, but no, as everyone else, I wouldn't call it life changing. It's not that. It certainly isn't that for me, but it's certainly life enhancing. It's a great thing to have done. I think it almost validates us as quizzers as well to a little extent, because I'm not as much of a regular sort of organised quizzer as perhaps Claire and Harry, but I think together we've proved ourselves to be a good team, and I think other quizzers would recognise that we've got potential and a force to be reckoned with. And actually, I think it was just 1 week, maybe 2 weeks at maximum, before we recorded the final. We finished runners-up in the online quiz league as well. So our team name is certainly one that's been well chosen and well preserved.
Well, sometimes you do break that that cycle. I was a perennial semi-finalist until 15-1 came along. So these things can change. Claire, how about you? Finally,
it's
your
the first quiz that I've played as a team rather than as an individual, and it was an absolute joy playing with these guys. It's such a pleasure seeing them for real. For the second time for Harry, because I saw him at the buzzer quiz, but for Dan it was the first time I'd seen him for real since we recorded the Mastermind final, which was December 2020.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was just amazing to get together again. It was lovely.
Indeed. It's just, yeah. I mean, watching on, you can see, how the teams will get on, both within the team, but again across the teams as well. And chatting to you all over the last weeks, it's been fantastic. Benjamin, he's French. He says, "I just learned what also ran means." It's the Raymond Polidor of quiz, Benjamin. If I can give you a French cycling reference, Gerard has put like Eratosthenes, who was called Beta because he was second best at everything. I just have to say, there were, I don't know how many teams there were, 20 odd this series. To 16. Be runners up, was it 16?
16.
To be runners up by 1 point is just phenomenal. It's phenomenal to win it. It's phenomenal to get as far as you did and to run as close as you did. So congratulations to all of you. One final question. It was actually posed earlier in the chat, which was, are we going to see you playing as a team again on anything else? And somebody mentioned the show Puzzling. If that comes back for a second series, would you be tempted to enter something else as a team each?
Oh, was that the Lucy Worsley one?
Yes.
Yeah.
The funny thing about Puzzling is I was literally going to be on the show, but they changed the filming day like last minute, and it would have been the day after I filmed the semi-final, and I was just like, sorry, I'm going to have to drop out now because I can't do that because I'll be exhausted going from Cardiff to London. And I just forgot to apply for Series 2, but I think I made the right choice, to be honest.
Yeah. Actually, I misremembered because that's not a team thing, is it?
No,
you're not really teams, are you? Yeah.
It's a shame there's not really more like team quizzes on TV. So I'd love to do it again, absolutely.
There was that very hard questions, wasn't or something?
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah,
that was team. But
there's always egg.
Yeah, we're probably looking at Eggheads.
Is that even still going? I think Channel 5 might have cancelled that now. I'm not sure.
No.
But we'll have a crack at that if we can.
Yeah.
If the opportunity comes up, then it would be great to see you all playing again. Obviously, you're playing in Connections Online Quiz League, so you still get to play only Connect style questions, which is good. And of course, there are many other kind of quizzes around that I know a good number of you play. So best of luck in all of those quiz ventures and whatever comes next. But for now, just want to say thank you so much for coming on. There are many things you could have been doing tonight. You could have been down the pub. You could have been
not on a school night,
gallivanting or whatever. But you came on here to chat to us, and I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate all the times you come on this series. Oh, Harry.
I was just going to say, before we go, that we wanted to give a shout out to one of the writers, Charlie Methburn, because he also does the crossword for the Independent, and he put a little. In case anyone's an independent crossword, but he gave a nice little shout out to all the different teams of this series.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, it was very clever.
It's worth looking.
So we've been enjoying it on the team on the WhatsApp for every team. We've been enjoying looking at it today.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, we'll look out for that. Benjamin says, "Congrats you all and thank you. Please go celebrate." I know it's a school night, so but there is the Only Connect reunion is coming up in March, I think. So any of you who are down there, I'll be looking forward to having a drink with you and any other Only Connect alumni who will make it. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on the show. Really.
I was going to say, by amazing coincidence, I'll be at a seminar on UCL campus literally half an hour before it starts. So I will definitely be there.
That is a fantastic coincidence. Brilliant. Thanks everybody. Claire, to Dan, to Harry, brilliant also rounds, and to Sam, to Will, and to Jack, the the newly crowned champions. Let me play that.
Really well done, guys.
So let me play this once more. So congratulations again to the Thrifters.
Thank you.
And yeah, thank you for coming on. You are now free to leave, and I will run a video, and then I'll update you, everybody, on the nominations for Quizzer and Team of the Week. It will not surprise you that the Thrifters will get a nomination for Team of the Week. But yeah, thanks so much, everybody, and we'll be back very shortly.
Night.
There's so much going on in the quiz world, it can be really hard to keep on top of it all. Let us do it for you with the All Things Quiz newsletter. News from All Things Quiz and from the wider world of quiz delivered to your inbox every Tuesday. Sign up at allthingsquiz.com or scan this QR code. Well, in all the excitement, my camera has just wiggled around. So yes, let us finish off tonight's show. I won't really go through University Challenge. It was a cracking match between Trinity and Open, two brilliant teams. Absolutely love the Open team. They've been on the show before. It was a cracker. It was really, really, really tight. It was just pipped by Trinity at the death, but it could have gone either way, much like every match that we saw tonight, Only Connect and Mastermind. So do check out that show if you haven't seen it already. Hopefully we'll get the Open University back on for their next show, because in this round at least they're not knocked out. And we will be looking at University Challenge at certain points coming forward in the next, I don't know, few months that we have left. Now, before we go to Quizzer Team of the Week, the winner of this week's What is the Question was Harry. You've just seen him from the Also Rans. The answer was bridge, and his question was, what type of structure was admired for its beauty by Diane Keaton in Manhattan, was jumped off by Michael Keaton in Desperate Measures, and famously blown up by Buster Keaton for The General? Brilliant use of Keaton's there, Harry. No wonder that was voted the winner. This week's answer in need of a question is Denver. We've had quite a lot of questions. You can now vote at tinyurl.com/WITQ Denver. Voting's open to Wednesday, and then you can vote to try and find the winner. Now, I'm going to have to, quickly, lunchtime quiz time every day on Facebook and X/Twitter. This was yesterday's question, I think, which 226-foot long warship, which is now a museum, made its maiden voyage of 1,300 meters on 10th of August 1628 before sinking in Stockholm Harbour. That was the Vasa. Now, we'll skip past the Mastermind stuff and go to Quiz Week. Last week's winner of Quizzer of the Week was Michael Hutchinson for his run on Jeopardy, his 5-match winning run. Second was Kashava Guha for a full house, but also had done really well on Jeopardy, and Amy Godel got a full house. Team of the Week were the White Hart in Aynsham for their Oxfordshire Quiz League performance. Also Rans came second, and the Mercians were third. This week's nominees are from Broadcast Quizzing, Emma Laslett, who had a fantastic run on Jeopardy and also had to put up with some horrendous abuse online. Emma is a fantastic quizzer, and we stand by her and support her. Emma more than deserves her nomination. Annie Hodkinson won today's Counterpoint heat, and you saw him earlier. Steve Dodding won his Mastermind heat this evening. The nominees for from Quiz Leagues, etc. We've got Jim Eccleston. He got a no-cure full house, as did Tim Hall. Drew Sheila and Zubin Saini were the joint top players in Fundesliga's International, and Subrat M was the top performing player in Fundesliga India. Scott Blish got a monster 30 and a full house in OQL USA. There were full houses in QLL, Quiz League London, for Gavin Fuller, David Stainer, and Michael Slater. Matija Nikolic won the Hrvatski Quiz Savez, that's the Croatian Quiz Association's sports quiz. And Samanway Banerjee won the Kolkata International Quiz Festival Quizzer of the Year title. So those are the individuals you could now vote for at tinyurl.com/QW29 Jan 24. And Team of the Week nominations: Thrifters, the series champions of Only Connect, you've just seen them. Trinity College Cambridge winning University Challenge. The Four Stooges, who I mentioned earlier, that's Paul Hibbert, Chris Dyson, Gilles Bourque, and Patrick Buckingham. They won the All Things Quiz Members Quiz this month. And in Quiz League's Park Exiles, they beat the leaders of OQL Division 3A. The Rolling Estonians won the first week, or got the top score in the first week of the Irish Quiz League last week. 4 Horse Girls of the Apocalypse beat OQL USA's Division 4 Ruby leaders. Grinling Gibbons beat the Quiz League of London Division 4B leaders. And North-South Axis were the top scoring team in Quiz Nations Portugal. So those are your nominees. There's a few things coming up you should be aware of. Our All Things Quiz for February is on the 25th of February. It will be an individual quiz played using the QuizWit software that we've used before. It's a little bit like speed quizzing, multi-format, different sort of rounds in there. Good fun. You need to be a patron to come. So go to patreon.com/allthingsquiz if you want to play. There's a Quest Grand Prix on the 5th of February. The deadline for Quiz Nations Global is also 5th of February. Connections Online Quiz League starts again on the 13th of February. You might just be able to sneak in, go to quizcentral.net. The OQL Individual Championships are on the 24th of February around the country. Again, go to quizcentral.net. Celtic Nations Championships have just opened for registrations. 20th to 21st of April in Glasgow. Then you've got the Bundesliga Summer Showdown. I think that's in Delhi, 11th to 12th of May. And the OQL Weekender is in July in Blackpool. And that's the key things that are coming up. Don't forget, if you want to nominate somebody for Quiz and Team of the Week, go to tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations and you can do so. So that is it. It's been a fantastic day in the world of quiz. Just looking at the chat, it's still been going on. Harry, not on also, is that coming up? Not on also ran for Bridges. Does that? Yes. So well done, Harry. Congratulations on winning that. That's not his first win. It won't be his last win. Thank you so much for tuning in, for watching the show tonight. Thank you so much to Steve Dodding for coming on talking about Mastermind, to the Also Runs, and to the Only Connect champions, the Thrifters, for coming and talking about their show tonight. It's been a long one, but I think you'll agree it's been a good one. And that is it from Quizzy Monday, and hope to see you again at some point soon. Have a good week. Take care, everybody.